The history of George Washington, a founding father of the United States. George Washington stands as one of the most pivotal figures in the history of the United States. As the first president, the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army during the American Revolution, and a central figure in the founding of the nation, his life and legacy have shaped the country's political, military, and cultural landscape. This video seeks to provide an in-depth look at the history of George Washington, examining his early life, military career, presidency, and lasting impact on the United States. George Washington was born on February 22, 1732, in Westmoreland County, Virginia, into a prosperous family of English descent. His father, Augustine Washington, was a wealthy planter, and his mother, Mary Ball Washington, came from a well-established Virginia family. George was the first child from his father's second marriage, and he had 4 full siblings as well as several half-siblings from his father's previous marriage. Growing up in Virginia, Washington was educated at home by tutors and learned practical skills necessary for managing a plantation, such as surveying. His early life was marked by the loss of his father at the age of 11, which had a profound effect on him. As the eldest son, George inherited much of his father's responsibilities, including managing the family's estate. His upbringing was one of privilege, but also one of early responsibility and work, which would later shape his leadership and character. Washington's education was interrupted by the death of his father, and he did not attend formal schooling. Instead, he focused on learning practical skills, including surveying, a profession he pursued in his youth. Washington's surveying work was vital for understanding the land in Virginia and the surrounding areas. At the age of 16, he began working as a surveyor in the Shenandoah Valley, an experience that gave him first-hand knowledge of the territory and served as an important foundation for his future military career. Washington's early military experience came when he was appointed a lieutenant colonel in the Virginia militia during the French and Indian War, which lasted from 1754 to 1763. At the age of 22, he was involved in the early battles of the war, which was fought between the British and French colonial forces, each vying for control of North America. His first major military engagement occurred in 1754, when he was sent on a mission to confront French forces in the Ohio River Valley. His early efforts were met with failure and defeat. Washington's skirmish at Fort Necessity resulted in his surrender, but this experience did not deter him. He continued to rise in the ranks, and by 1755 he was serving as an aide to British General Edward Braddock during the disastrous British defeat at the Battle of the Monongahela. Washington's leadership during this retreat, where he helped to save the remnants of Braddock's forces, earned him recognition and praise. Washington's experiences during the French and Indian War were instrumental in shaping his future as a military leader. Despite the early setbacks, he gained valuable knowledge of military tactics, command, and the importance of unity in the face of adversity. He also developed a deep understanding of the political dynamics between the British Crown and the American colonies, which would later influence his decision to rebel against British rule. In the years following the French and Indian War, tensions between the American colonies and Great Britain began to rise. The British government, burdened by the debt incurred from the war, sought to impose taxes and regulations on the colonies to recoup its losses. This led to widespread discontent among the colonists, particularly in Virginia, where Washington and other colonial leaders grew increasingly frustrated with British policies. The Stamp Act of 1765, which imposed taxes on printed materials, was one of the first major catalysts of colonial resistance. Washington, who had by then become a successful planter and political figure in Virginia, spoke out against these measures. He, along with other Virginians, became an advocate for colonial rights and opposed the encroachment of British authority. Washington's political career began in earnest when he was elected to the Virginia House of Burgesses in 1758. There, he joined other colonial leaders in opposing British policies. In 1774, he was appointed as a delegate to the Continental Congress, where he would play a crucial role in shaping the future of the American Revolution. The American Revolution Commander-in-Chief. In 1775, as tensions between the American colonies and Britain escalated, the Continental Congress convened to address the growing crisis. Washington, a respected military leader, was chosen to serve as the Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, a decision that would alter the course of American history. His appointment was, in part, due to his experience from the French and Indian War, but also because of his reputation for integrity, dedication, and leadership. Washington's military career during the Revolutionary War was marked by both challenges and triumphs. The Continental Army faced numerous obstacles, including inadequate training, poor supplies, and a lack of unity among the colonies. However, Washington's leadership was instrumental in maintaining the morale of the troops and keeping the army intact during times of hardship. One of Washington's most famous victories came in 1776, when he led a daring attack on the Hessian forces in Trenton, New Jersey, after crossing the Delaware River on Christmas night. This victory, though small, was a turning point in the war, boosting American morale and giving the revolutionaries much-needed hope. Washington's strategy was often based on avoiding large, decisive battles in favor of smaller, more manageable engagements. His ability to adapt to changing circumstances, along with his deep understanding of the terrain and the enemy, helped to keep the revolution alive. However, it was the pivotal victory at the Battle of Yorktown in 1781, aided by French forces under General Rochambeau and the French Navy, that ultimately led to the British surrender and the end of the Revolutionary War. The birth of a nation presidency and the creation of the United States. After the American Revolution, Washington retired to his estate at Mount Vernon, but his public service was far from over. In 1787, as the Articles of Confederation proved ineffective in uniting the states, Washington was called upon once again to serve his country. He was elected President of the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, where delegates gathered to draft a new framework for the government. Washington played a crucial role in the creation of the U.S. Constitution, using his stature to encourage compromise and consensus among the delegates. His leadership was instrumental in shaping the Constitution, which established the framework for the federal government. The document was signed in September 1787, and Washington's influence on its creation cannot be overstated. In 1789, Washington was unanimously elected as the first President of the United States, an office that had never before existed. As President, Washington faced numerous challenges, including establishing a new government, dealing with foreign threats, and navigating the complexities of the nation's economic development. Washington set many precedents that would shape the future of the presidency, including the formation of a cabinet, the establishment of a national bank, and the formulation of foreign policy. One of Washington's most important contributions was his decision to step down after 2 terms in office. At a time when many leaders sought to consolidate power, Washington's voluntary departure from the presidency set a precedent for the peaceful transfer of power and the idea of term limits. This decision solidified Washington's reputation as a leader who valued the principles of democracy and republicanism over personal power. George Washington's legacy extends far beyond his time in office. His leadership during the American Revolution and his role in creating the United States Constitution laid the foundation for the United States as a republic based on democratic principles. As the first president, Washington established many of the traditions and institutions that continue to shape American governance today. Washington is often revered as the father of his country for his role in uniting the colonies, leading the Continental Army, and serving as the first president. His integrity, sense of duty and commitment to the American cause have made him a symbol of national pride and unity. Even after his death in 1799, Washington's memory endured as a guiding force for future generations of Americans. Washington's influence also extended to the world stage. His leadership in the Revolution served as an inspiration to other nations seeking independence from imperial powers. His establishment of a republican form of government served as a model for other democracies, particularly in Europe and the Americas. George Washington's life and legacy are inextricably tied to the creation of the United States of America. From his humble beginnings to his rise as a military leader and statesman, Washington's contributions to the formation of the nation are unparalleled. His leadership during the Revolutionary War, his role in the drafting of the Constitution and his presidency set the stage for the future of the United States. Washington's commitment to Republican values, his personal integrity, and his willingness to relinquish power for the good of the nation continue to resonate today, making him one of the most influential figures in American history. If you found this educational, please like and subscribe.